Okay, we will call the meeting to order. This is the time and the place for the Monday, June 2nd, 2025 regular board meeting of the Marshalltown Community School District. Welcome to all of you joining us here in person. Welcome as well to anybody who might be watching via the live stream. We've got a few, well, we'll do introductions, I guess, before we go too much farther. Board members here this evening, starting to my right, Zach Wall and Sarah Faltis. To my left, Karina Hernandez and Maria Morales. Dr. Theron Schutte is immediately to my left. He's the superintendent of schools. To my right is Mr. Randy Denham, our board secretary, and I am Sean Heitman. No student board reps this evening. We've got a pink sign-up sheet there on the speaker's table for anybody who wants to address the board during public comment time. You will be given 5 minutes to speak to the board. Please understand that Iowa law prohibits the discussion of specific employees of the district or their job performance. Also, in accordance with board policy, board members will not respond to comments made during the public comment time so that we can comply with open meeting laws. Is that all the announcements, Randy?
You got them.
Thank you, sir. With those things taken care of, would everyone please join me in reading the mission statement of the Marshalltown Community School District? We develop learners who have the knowledge, skills, and positive mindset to successfully pursue a meaningful future through personalized learning experiences. And please stand as you're able and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening?
There are not.
Then is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Hang on a second. We had to add one item to the agenda.
I'm sorry, Raina.
We had to add item 503 to the agenda tonight. That is for the MHS parking lot. That was approved recently through the summer projects, but due to the estimated cost of that project, we have to competitively bid that. So there's an item on the agenda tonight to approve a resolution to tentatively accept the spec form of contract and estimated cost for that project, and to set a public hearing for the June 16th meeting to meet statutory requirements for that project.
So then is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Second.
Faltis Morales, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, then Abby, recognitions.
The Marshalltown Community School District would like to congratulate our Marshalltown High School esports team on earning the runner-up title in Valorant at the Iowa High School Esports Association State Tournament. Members of the team, esports coach, and esports coordinator are here tonight. I'll let them introduce themselves and kind of talk about competition.
Thank you. My name is Coach Rannon Spees. The DEC for esports is in the back. Officer Wolf, he's kind of the athletic director for all of esports. Behind me is our 5 members of the Valorant team that competed this year. Valorant is a 5v5 team game where you alternate attack and defense, whether you are trying to plant a spike or defuse it. It requires a lot of teamwork and communication, which is where this team really excelled, was the communication aspect and the improvising and thinking on your feet. And it led to a successful 6-1 season, and then an impressive runner-up run at the state tournament, getting revenge on the one team that beat us during the regular season.
You want to tell us who you brought from the team?
In attendance is Dante Montgomery, senior Chow Tai, Lewin Thu, directly behind me, Rafael Ordenez, I said that wrong, sorry, and Blake Russell as well.
Guys, anything you want to share?
proud of the boys. They played awesome during the season.
They save all their talking for in-game.
You guys are now the highest finishing team. In our inaugural season, we had a third place finish at state, and now we have a state runner-up, so that's fantastic.
Yeah.
We have a small token for each of the student athletes. I know that I think the association gives a plaque for the school. As we did the last time when we had a third place finishing team, we've got some individual trophies so that you guys can remember this regularly and hopefully aspire to win the state championship next year. And I think we bought enough for all the team members, whether they competed or not, so we'll just have you take back the extra ones to get to those guys.
So we're all
Oh, sorry about that. I can't remember that. 1, 2, 3. Looks like there's 5 more.
Okay, that'd be good.
Okay. Gentlemen, congratulations on a great season. For all you guys underclassmen, any seniors in the group? Okay, so 4 of you will be back. That's fantastic. Good job.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, guys. Sure can.
Head girls golf coach Lucas Johnson was named the 2025 golf recipient of the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union's Golden Plaque of Distinction Award. The award honors the Iowa coach who has demonstrated a successful career while making notable contributions towards school, community, and the coaching profession. I know when I received the write-up from the union, Coach Johnson's full, resume definitely speaks within itself. I know Ryan's going to talk about it a little bit, so I'll pass it over to Ryan and Coach.
So I'd say one thing that really stands out with Lucas, there's a lot of things, but anytime we host a tournament or home event, just you can just tell the amount of respect other coaches have from other schools that they have for Lucas. He's very well known in the golf community, and that's probably an understatement. So it says a lot about him. I think the success of our golf programs say a lot. Third place, Natalie Henson this past weekend at State Girls Golf, and several state qualifying teams over the years, boys and girls. So can't say enough about Lucas. He just does a tremendous job running tournaments, teaching kids, and just everything he does for the golf program. Can't say enough about him. So thank you, Lucas.
Appreciate that, Ryan. It's a privilege to be able to get to work with student athletes that we have here at Marshalltown, and they make the job really easy because of the work that they put into it. And for me as a coach, it's just super rewarding to be able to see that success. We've had a lot of state qualifying teams, we've had state championship teams, a super fun weekend watching Natalie Henson be able to compete at state. She capped off a 4-year run of qualifying for the state tournament. 3 of those years she finished in the top 10 and had her highest finish. She ended as the number 1 stroke average in 4A girls golf too. So just a great run of kids. Obviously I'm very humbled to receive an award like this. 13 years goes by really quickly, and so just having a chance to look back on those years is kind of fun, and hopefully many more to come.
We echo that.
Appreciate it.
I can't think of anyone in my career more deserving than you to get this significant award. So I was super excited to see the notice because, a lot of times they award such awards to retiring or people going out after 25 years or whatever. So they're truly paying attention to quality people and quality work as it relates to working with student athletes, as well as being gracious hosts when we have opportunities, which we do fairly regularly to host really big tournaments. So we're very proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Looking at the consent agenda, we've got minutes from the May 19th board meeting. Dr. Schutte, I'll ask you any items of note in personnel?
Well, the one that's top of mind is we have one of our building principals who is resigning, Mark Lee, who's been at Fisher Elementary School the past 8 years. He's been aspiring to work at district level administration, was offered a job and accepted with the Des Moines Public Schools. I believe it's Director of Student Services position. So hate to see him leave, but we're happy that he was able to successfully pursue his personal goals in that regard. And we're already advertising for a replacement there.
Looking at interagency contracts and agreements, there's a renewal agreement with Lafredo Fresh Produce for food and supplies, renewal agreement with Martin Brothers for food and supplies and for cleaning and washing chemicals, a renewal contract with Pano Gold Bakery for bread supplies, an agreement with Central Rivers AEA for transfer of state funding, an agreement with Primary Health Care for dental services to qualifying students, a quote proposal from TFS Results for Career Tree Materials, a quote from Heartland School Solutions Mosaic Digital Meal Viewer Subscription, and an agreement with McFarland Clinic for an athletic trainer for May and June of 2025. Are there any questions about those agreements or contracts? What's that?
Nothing.
Okay.
I was wondering if there was going to be anything else that Dr. Schutte wanted to announce. Maybe not.
Okay.
I think I know what she's alluding to.
Oh, I think I do too.
Sorry, Karina. Yeah, we have some exciting news where Karina has, accepted the position of, I don't know what the exact title is, but she's basically our community liaison for JA3DE. So that's a position that Junior Achievement hires. But she'll be working specifically with the Marshtown Community School District. So we kind of jokingly said the other day she's going to have to pivot from what she has to abstain from approving. We've been through Micah, we've been through Marshtown Community College, and now we're Junior Achievement. But we're super excited to have her move into that role. And then we are also excited about the other recent hire, which is, can't remember her last name, Caitlin. She's an instructional coach currently with the Norwalk Community School District, and she'll be our boots on the ground instructional coach for the teachers that are part of the JA3DE. So Karina has obviously spent her Marshtown career establishing partnerships with local businesses and industries, and so she is absolutely a natural fit for this position.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I was completely lost, Marie, on what you were trying to.
No idea. I wasn't sure if it was going to happen this meeting or maybe next one. I'm like, uh-oh, did I mess anything up?
All right, looking at open enrollments there for next year, there's one out and one in. Randy, anything to note in bills?
No.
Any questions for Randy on the bills? We have one donation to Woodbury Elementary School from Impact for back-to-school kitting drive and an estimated amount of $7,000 worth of school supplies. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I'll abstain.
There's a
Oh, McFarland.
there's
Yeah,
McFarland.
I got it. I don't know who made the motion.
Morales.
Was it Maria?
Hernandez.
Okay,
Leah.
it was Leah. Okay. Stanley
Hernandez.
Hernandez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. And any abstentions?
Yes.
One abstention. It's 5.
5-0 with one
Yep,
abstention.
got it.
Nobody's on the pink sign-up sheet, so it must be Bobcat Ready presentation time.
No, just sit back here. You guys have the majority of the presentations.
It is my birthday. I'm a little older. I probably just need a comfy chair.
I thought Sunday was
I
your
thought yesterday was, how many birthdays do you have?
I know. I was just gonna say that. Like, what are we celebrating?
Tonight at 5.
Now,
Wants us
now I'm a
to
little
sing him
suspect
happy
that yesterday
birthday.
was actually your birthday.
You thought he had a different audience.
Yeah, that was
It's my birthday.
wrong speech. Justin Bolivar, principal at Marshtown High School.
And I'm Adam Van Arkel, the high school, college, and career readiness counselor.
Jenny Allen, the CPDL for College and Career Readiness.
I'm Kristen Kell, one of the middle school co-principals.
Dave Clinton, the other middle school co-principal.
Awesome. So we're here tonight to talk to you about Bobcat Ready, and we're going to start with just a quick overview of Bobcat Ready. Amy, if you want to go to the next slide. Thank you. So Bobcat Ready is a program that we've had going on in Marshalltown for since 2019. And the school district and business partners came together to kind of come up with the criteria and the plan for what it would take to be what we call Bobcat Ready. So to be Bobcat Ready, you have to be both college and career ready. And that's kind of what this infographic is showing. And to be college ready, and Justin is going to talk to you about this a little bit more, but there's 2 ways they can be college ready: have a GPA of 2.75 or higher and meet one of the academic indicators, or meet the standardized testing benchmarks. They also have to be career ready. They have to have an identified career interest and meet 3 of the career ready indicators.
Which will push into what I was going to talk about. So the first one up there is college ready indicators. And we touched base on this just a little bit yesterday at graduation. Had 129 students, Bobcat College Career Ready. So that was exciting. So what the college ready indicators, Jenny did a nice job talking about that, was C or better in Algebra 2 or advanced placement courses, taking a dual credit college English, math, or science, taking a college developmental English and or math course such as a prep to college math. The standardized testing benchmarks were AccuPlacer, ACT, and SAT. And the screen there shows you the scores on those standardized testing. We'll go to the next slide. So then we also had the career indicators. So career ready student must identify a career interest and meet 3 of the indicators. Indicators there were 90% attendance, 25 hours of community service, a workplace learning experience, industry credentials like a CNA, no conduct violations, a C or better in dual credit course or CTE course, 2 or more organized co-curricular activities, athletic or music, earned the seal of biliteracy, and then a passing score on Armed Service Vocational Aptitude Battery, or the ASVAB.
So this is our data for this year. So the class of 2025, you can see that, the the labels are gone. Oh, at the top, sorry. 33.33% are Bobcat ready, and 35.92 were college ready, and 69.25 were career ready. Just kind of something interesting that I looked at while we were looking at this data. One of the criteria was to have a 2.75 or higher GPA. And I just wanted to know, like, how many of the seniors have that 2.75 or higher GPA? And it was 41% of the seniors had a GPA of 2.75 or higher. So 41% had that GPA, and of those, 33% had that Bobcat Ready distinction. So of that, 71% were Bobcat Ready. So this is kind of some comparison data over time. So this shows the class of 23, 24, and 25 represented up here. Some things that we kind of talked about contributing to those falling numbers was one of the things was the lack of a consistent college and career transition counselor at MHS. We've had a lot of movement in Adam's position, and when you don't have a champion there at the high school to really push Bobcat Ready and think about Bobcat Ready, then the numbers just aren't going to be there. So the change in administration, last year Ms. Wyant left and Mr. Bolivar came, and every time you have a transition, some things just kind of slip just a little bit, and we're ready to move that number up. The lack of the target for being Bobcat Ready has kind of changed a little bit over time, because what's qualified as work-based learning has changed a lot over the last 2 years. And I'll talk about that in just a minute too. So some things that have changed, but we are gonna have some ideas on how to bring that back up. So work-based learning used to be, up until about 2 years ago, it used to be all of the things that you see there on the left. We could call anything from a classroom speaker, job shadowing, mentorship, all of those things could be counted as work-based learning in our student information system to be reported to the state. That kind of got changed a little bit to what you see on the right. It just got tweaked just a little bit, but most recently, last spring, and could you go to the next slide? It got changed pretty drastically. So most of those things you saw in the last scaffolding were learning about work, so that career exploration. And now we can only count what's in the bottom part of the circle, the working to learn, as work-based learning. So students have to actually be doing some sort of learning in the classroom. Then they have to be going to a job site or partnering with a business to actually do some sort of work, and then coming back and reflecting. So in the past, we counted things like part-time jobs if they filled out a survey with their employer. Those kind of things could have been counted as work-based learning, but last spring that changed. So that's why a lot less kids have that work-based learning distinction now, because our target has changed. So that's one of the reasons that we think that our numbers have dropped a little bit. And this is just showing you, because that target changed, the amount of students who we could classify as having a work-based learning experience. So you can see it's drastically changed there.
That's for school credit purposes, right?
That's for the distinction on our state report card for our district.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Did I say that?
Yeah,
So not for school credit. We can still count.
We can do our own thing
Right.
as it relates to this.
Right, but just the official by the state work-based learning. Yeah.
Just to kind of jump off that a little bit, so a couple offerings at the high school that do meet that work-based learning, I wanted to kind of highlight those just to make sure everyone was aware. So participation in IJAG would count for work-based learning, taking the CNA course, being part of the Foods 3 and working at the Bobcat Cafe would count. Taking one of the academy courses at MCC, as well as some of our early childhood education classes. Those all would be work-based learning experiences that students could count. Next fall, Jenny and I plan to meet with some of the MHS teachers during the PLC time to kind of further brainstorm ways in which we can implement additional work-based learning opportunities for students at MHS. So now looking kind of at the class of 25 and looking a little bit more at the data there, as Jenny mentioned earlier, 33.33% of our seniors in the class of 2025 graduated with that Bobcat Ready designation. We recognize that this percentage is not exactly where we want it to be and has room for improvement, but our team has already began to brainstorm ways that we can increase the number of students earning the Bobcat Ready designation. Additionally, we're exploring strategies to make earning the Bobcat Ready more desirable for students and more meaningful. Currently, students who earn Bobcat Ready receive a certificate at senior awards night, and an emblem is placed on their high school transcript. Our hope is to enhance this recognition in ways that better motivate students to reflect the value of their hard work. All right, next slide. We wanted to take a few moments to highlight some of the positive developments in the area of college and career readiness at MHS. The MHS Counseling Department has worked hard advocating for and communicating with students about MCC dual credit opportunities. Personally, I've been focusing on strengthening our partnership with MCC this year, including connecting students to the MCC campus more often and bringing advisors to meet with students at our campus at MHS. A few of the key experiences we facilitated as a team this year include the Sophomore Career Fair at MCC, the MCC Junior College Fair. We organized a series of CTE visit days so students could explore some of the opportunities in the CTE field. And we've also incorporated a MCC faculty kind of meet and greet during the high school lunch periods. So this marks the completion of my first year as the college and career readiness counselor at the high school. I'm passionate about helping students reach their future goals and supporting their post-secondary plans. And the CCR position, as Jenny mentioned, has seen some turnover in recent years, but I look forward to establishing continuity, there we go, and stability to the position. Let's see. As I continue moving ahead in this position, I look forward to further developing relationships with students, making it easier and more meaningful to connect students with college and career opportunities. We're also excited that we now have a full-time district attendance coordinator, and this is providing some valuable support to our students. Volunteerism is another important aspect of Bobcat Ready, and next year we'll be kind of streamlining that process on how students record those hours. It will now be through Zello, so that's one less additional system that students have to learn. And then let's see here, the College and Career Center at the high school, it's the office I work in, exposes students to a great number of different exploration activities. Several highlights from this year would include college fairs, college campus visits, guest speakers, job shadows, workplace tours, classroom instruction, and individual counseling sessions, just to name a few. As part of Bobcat Ready, students are currently recognized at awards night. We also strive to keep families informed and involved through events such as parent nights, which are designed to educate and support families with things like FAFSA completion, as well as future planning. And lastly, Bobcat Ready reports are available on Infinite Campus, and those can be monitored by students and parents.
And the next slide is just an example of, from the student or parent point of view, what it looks like on their dashboard of Infinite Campus when they go under Bobcat Ready, so they can see if they're a student or if they are themselves Bobcat Ready.
Yeah, and looking ahead to next year, you can go to the next slide, thanks. Talking about some opportunities for continued growth. So we plan to expand upon and improve how we educate students about what Bobcat Ready is. Let's see. Many of the Bobcat Ready criteria involve contributions from all the teachers at MHS. These elements could be more intentionally woven into the daily classroom routines or possibly discussions during parent-teacher conferences. As many of you know, students can earn graduation cords that can be worn along with their cap and gown during the graduation ceremony. It's been my experience this year that students are really motivated to earn these cords because they enjoy that recognition and getting to kind of just showcase that during their ceremony and then be recognized for that. So our goal for next year would be possibly to award students a Bobcat Ready cord that could be worn at graduation for the students that kind of meet that criteria. Then towards the beginning of the school year, when we have our student class meetings, we plan to discuss Bobcat Ready with all the grade levels during that first week of school. This will ensure that students can kind of understand what Bobcat Ready is And then we're hoping that it will serve as a motivator throughout that remainder of the school year. At MHS, we utilize Zello as well as career trees for college and career education and exploration. Next year, we'll be working to spread out the career tree curriculum over both first and second semester. Traditionally, this work has been done primarily in the spring or second semester. And by extending this work throughout the whole year, we hope to provide more balance and kind of a continuous focus on career exploration. Another idea we're exploring is incorporating kind of Bobcat-ready check-ins during the high school homeroom time. This would allow teachers to help students kind of monitor their progress, meeting the criteria, and kind of keeping the conversation going around Bobcat-ready. Additionally, it might be beneficial for us to consider revisiting Bobcat-ready framework with some of our community partners. This might strengthen these connections and ensure that Bobcat-ready continues to evolve and remain aligned with real-world expectations and opportunities. And lastly, incorporating Bobcat-ready criteria in with many of our locally sourced college scholarship applications would be another meaningful way to kind of create focus and value to the initiative. This would align criteria with scholarship opportunities, and we can further incentivize students to actively engage in the Bobcat-ready process and recognize the real-world benefits for their efforts.
All right, moving to being high school ready at Miller Middle School. So if you want to go to that next slide. This is kind of our infographic. So there's kind of two pieces of criteria. The first one is academics. And it's meeting one of the two, a C or above in all of their core classes. And the other option is proficiency in ELA, math, and science on the ISASP. Then there are 4 of the 6 behavioral indicators that students must reach in order to be high school ready. 90% or better attendance, no suspensions or expulsions, no code of conduct violation, 2 or more extracurricular activities, civic readiness, so doing some volunteerism for at least 10 or more hours, and then identify a positive and trusting adult in the building. So Dave's going to kind of go through some of the data points, and then we'll kind of talk about what's going well and what we'd like to see improve.
Yeah, thanks. So if you take a look at this first graph here, this indicates the number of students who were meeting the behavior side of that infographic. So if you look at it, and we did 8th grade and 7th grade, we know that 7th graders aren't going to be deemed high school ready until they're in 8th grade, but we like to give them an idea of, if they're on track or not. So if you look at that, 77% of our 7th graders met that indicator, that behavior indicator, and 76% of our 8th graders. So that would be 276 8th graders and 297 7th graders who are currently meeting those 4 of those 6 indicators. And then we get into the academic side of things. Our numbers drop a little bit. Our 7th graders had 52% of our 7th graders met the academic indicators of one of those 2, and 45% of our 8th graders. So that would be 163 8th graders and 201 7th graders. I think one of the big differences between those two is that looking at ISASP proficiency, when you're in 8th grade, you add that extra test that they only take every 3 years of the science. So that's not an every year test, it's every 3 years. That's a difference between 7th and 8th grade. We had, let's move on to combining those two. So those students that met both indicators, both academic and behaviorally, we had 44% of our 7th graders, or 171 students, and 39% of our 8th graders, or 142 students, met both combined indicators.
So when you think about what's going really well, helping with attendance rates, having the full-time district attendance coordinator, an SRS, and we just have a newly hired bilingual attendance specialist. So just really cracking down on that attendance piece of it. We truly believe that our teachers make great connections with students. So identifying that trusted adult, for us at Miller, we think that's a gimme.
Pretty easy.
That one's
Pretty easy for kids
every
to do
kid. We really hope meets that. We celebrate our students daily with Cats Kids of the Day. This week we're doing Cats Kid of the Year. And then at our end of the year assembly, we will give certificates to students who are high school ready. So we celebrate that there for them and for them to take home. And then we just increase that emphasis from teachers to students. And we don't have a dashboard, which Dave will talk about just a little bit here about what we can improve on. But Mr. Glenn and I do a really good job of when we're talking with kids in our office, like always referencing the posters. And just like the high school, just revitalizing that with our teachers as well.
Yeah, so when you think about how we can continue to grow this opportunity for our middle school students, we really want to make sure that we're making visible those examples of meeting an indicator. So, instead of just giving a student a certificate for participating in an extracurricular, we can say, here's this extracurricular, and you're halfway to that 2 or more extracurriculars to take a step towards being high school ready. We talk about that, like the high school, we talked about beginning of the year classroom meetings. We just want to jump on this and make sure that we're expanding this. And we've done a better job with our 7th graders this year of meeting that as starting 7th grade. And so we'll just have to make sure that we continue to stress the importance of that. We'd like to look for some opportunities to increase some community service. Obviously, with 7th and 8th graders, it's a little more difficult. Right now, any student who takes TOP or IJAG, and there are a couple other areas where they have some community service focus, they're going to meet that through just participating in that course. But outside of that, it is somewhat challenging when they have to rely on somebody else to get them there.
And we don't have a way to track it like the high school does.
And we really
either.
do want to have an opportunity for our teachers to do more homework, in homeroom in that morning, homeroom. They do enough homework, believe me, just asking. An opportunity to do more check-ins with students, really kind of stressing some of that academic achievement and tying it to high school already instead of just you want to pass this because you should pass this. So, and ultimately, our biggest goal, that dashboard that high school parents and students have access to, just in the 2-year window, we've been working a lot with David Stanfield, our kind of infinite campus specialist here in the district. Has been really difficult to do that in a 2-year window. By the time everything's uploaded, the year is over, and for the entire year, it looks like 99% of your kids are not high school ready. And for all those different little indicators. So it's been a really difficult time to pull. We have to run, an ad hoc for every single one of those and then cross-reference them and look for kids that are meeting all of them and try to create lists of kids. This year, obviously we hear a lot about AI. AI was able to help us speed that process up, like find kids that show up in 3 different places or 4 different places, and that was very helpful. But it still took a lot of people a lot of hours to calculate and figure out who should be on this list. So that is something that we have been working with David Stanfield for a while, and just still trying to find a happy way to get to that.
Are there questions?
It's not a question, but it's kudos to Adam because I work along with him, and he does an amazing job getting students to be prepared for whatever the next step is after high school, and then even the next grade. So I've seen it firsthand. So I think I just want to give kudos to him. I also wanted to share that the Bobcat Ready tab. That's something that MEB really focuses on, especially during their freshman year. So that's when I, as a coordinator, teach students how to get to it and how to read it. And that's where we track every year. Every semester, actually, we go in and just look at what turned green that year and what can they be working on. So that would be great if that can be taught, overall for those kids that are not in MAP or not being touched with that knowledge of what that tab is. It's a great idea.
Well, just a little bit of a history lesson, because I don't think too many of you were here when we first got this off the ground, but while those indicators are national indicators for success, post-secondary success, and the extracurricular component is on there because there's a belief that a lot of the soft skills, which is generally what workers fall down on when they're not successful, are taught through participation in extracurriculars, in many cases more easily than the four walls of the classroom. How to be punctual, how to be consistent, with your attendance, how to fight through adversity, winning or losing, those types of things. As you know, there's high expectations to continue to be part of those programs. And a lot of times kids are very interested in wanting to meet those expectations in terms of being part of it. The challenge for us is that we know through previous surveys done at the high school that 2/3 of our juniors and seniors hold part-time or full-time jobs, which there's no better place to learn career readiness than holding down part-time or full-time jobs. And so we don't want to lose their opportunity to hit one of those indicators by them gaining credit, school credit, not technical credit through the state or whatever, because we know that that's valuable. And we've also worked with the largest employers of our youth to create that evaluation instrument for which determines their proficiency on that. So I would hate to lose that piece, because I think that will cripple a lot of our kids easily knocking out one of the indicators at the high school level. I do understand the challenges that our student management system poses and the labor intenseness. We started off by contracting with a vendor, which made it a little bit easier, I thought, but our belief, or Mr. Stanfield's belief, was that we could do the same thing and provide the same service through Tableau and whatever. But I think we need to have further conversations, and maybe it's through the work-based learning committee, which the middle school should be engaged in. If we get that back in a regular flow to kind of have some discussions on some of these changes and issues. I know that Junior Achievement, for example, just got state approval to be credentialed for their, I think, work-based learning online course or whatever, we have full access to that since we have a district partnership. There's no additional cost for us to make that available to kids and what have, so that might be another avenue. But again, we probably just need to have continued conversations, and this can also be part of our working with Christy to help develop a district strategic plan around work-based learning, because it's a big deal with the state, but in regards to fitting their definitions for things. But we also need to figure out what works for Marshalltown, whether it fits their definition or not. But it is great to have Adam in the position, because as Jenny mentioned, it's been a challenge with kind of a revolving door there to keep this up front and center, but I think our community expects it. So we're excited for what the future holds with it. And really glad to get the middle school on solid ground, because our initial implementation was during the pandemic, which made it extraordinarily difficult. And then, but once we feel really good about where we're at middle school and high school, it'd be great to get this down to Lenahan as well. But I don't want to do that prior to us feeling like we're on really solid ground.
I would just say too, and you were talking about that and bringing Adam on, being awarded a Gear Up grant last year, and being able to bring Tracy Wright in to coordinate that. The number of students that Tracy has exposed to some post-secondary options in just ultimately a year and about 2 months has been nothing short of extraordinary. I mean, she's just run herself ragged doing that, and we will miss Tracy as she follows up and goes to the high school to follow that class and continue to work with them. So I would anticipate that, those types of experiences are, kids will be exposed to more opportunities for some of that work-based experiences.
Yeah, and Jackie's unable to be here today, but I really credit her when that first Gear Up group, when we were first awarded Gear Up, through that group and the work of Connie Gardelian, I believe it was, as the lead for Gear Up, we essentially filled most of that secondary scaffold that Jenny showed because they established career fairs at the 9th grade level. They established business tours at the sophomore level. They really pushed for job shadows at the junior level. And then, it's been difficult in Marshtown because so much of our business is centered around advanced manufacturing and agriculture, for which they have very strict guidelines in terms of kids getting into the workplace in a substantive way. But even when we had non-Gear Up classes, we kept that scaffolding in place until the pandemic and stuff. So, hopefully we can recreate that so that whether it's a Gear Up class or not, we're still providing the kids those kinds of experiences for them to best figure out what they want to do beyond high school. So,
But if I look at the data, it seems to me that we're actually doing pretty well on the career-ready side of things and on the behavior side of things. It seems to me that where we're falling short is on the academic side. Am I...
Yeah.
Nope, you're not missing that at
No,
all.
you're exactly right, and that's why, I really wanted to highlight that, 71% of the kids that are meeting the academics are in that category, but that is what brings us down is that hitting those academic targets.
And is it really just the GPA? Because those other criteria are not, they're not that difficult to my mind. 4 years of English. Well, don't you have to take 4 years of English? Isn't that a graduation requirement?
Yeah, they have to have the 4 years of English, 4 years of math, and 4 years of science, which they
successfully passed.
They don't have to have that.
Okay.
Currently.
I misread that then.
Yeah, they have to have all of those to get that qualification. But one of the things, even the kids, I was looking through kids, because we have some kids that are 4.0, 3.9, 3.8 that aren't college ready. And when I was digging into them to try to see why isn't this student college ready? Why isn't this student college ready? Some of them have just transferred here. I had 5 of the top GPAs that weren't college ready, had just moved here from Mexico. 3 of them had done that within the past year. So they didn't have the opportunity to meet some of these qualifications, even though some of them had AP classes that looked like AP classes in Mexico. It didn't transfer to our student information system. Some of them, it was their attendance. I had one student that was at an 88.9% attendance. You have to have a 90% to make that qualification. So there were some just real interesting things about those students with high GPAs that didn't meet any of those other criteria.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the data, right? It seems like the overwhelming majority of the kids who meet the career ready also meet the college. Just there's got to be a fair amount of overlap there.
There was a fair amount of overlap, but there were some students definitely that met college and not career, and some that met career and not college.
Right, and it seems like more of the latter than the former.
Yes,
yeah.
definitely.
And that's the same thing at the middle school, right?
Yeah.
The majority, the overwhelming majority of the kids are meeting the behavioral standards, right?
Absolutely.
And since you've only got the 2 academic, my guess is that it's either it's the grade point average, or where are they?
Well, ours is C or better in all of their core classes.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
Or proficiency.
Or proficiency.
Yeah, or proficiency.
It's
on all
one or
of
the
them.
other, right?
Right.
It's one or the other, yeah. And I would say in this year in particular, with the adoption of a new math curriculum, that really put a dent in some of that. It was a significant leap in rigor from what they had been using, which is warranted. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we should not have done that. It's been phenomenal, but that was a steep learning curve for both teachers and students. And I would say we saw some benefit of that on ISASP, which historically we have been hovered around 50%. And then we saw a significant jump in that. So I'm thinking one of the two, these will even out over time, and we'll just start to see growth in both areas.
Any other questions or comments?
Just wanted to ask a question. Will employers continue on getting that sign that's like Bobcat Ready? It's kind of like a sign to when an employer provides some type of work-based learning or support. I know in the past they would have received this like sign that says that they are supportive. Mhm.
Yeah, we actually only did that that was the inaugural year that we launched it, that we put those out, but that's a great idea. We certainly could.
It's nice to see, as I've done tour visits, to see how proud they are. So even if they relocated to somewhere else, how they still have that sign up right in the front door or right where they have like their community engagement. Like it's something that they're really proud of. So it would be nice, if possible, to continue that.
That's cool.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Rachel, you're jumping the line.
You were just excited.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I promise I'll go quick and brief, and I'll let Rachel get up here. So, I'm Valerie Corson, so I am the CPDL for Social Emotional Learning for the district, and this marks our first year of being able to use Panorama for our SEL data. And so being at the end of the year, I want to just kind of share with you what we were able to get for data. I'm going to throw lots of numbers at you, but at the very end, I will kind of summarize big picture ideas, what our strengths, what our goals all will be for next year. The first thing I want to do is just kind of talk about why we measure social emotional learning data. And it really is so that we can make those data-informed decisions, that we are looking at the social emotional behavioral mental health of our students, determining what those needs are, what the gaps are. It helps us with our direction and attendance, mental health, and behavior, like I said. We also like to track our progress, and it really has dictated kind of where those needs need to be driven. The Panorama survey, that'll be the next slide. To give you an overview again of the Panorama survey, we took this survey 3 times this year. We did one in the fall, which we closed right at the beginning of October. We did one in the winter, so we came back from break, and so January was our winter window, and then in spring, we ended that here in mid-May. And so those are the 3 checkpoints. Participation rates, really, we focused on that 90 to 95%. We fell short more at like the grades 3 through 12. The teacher survey grades K through 2 were strong at 98 to 96%. That is the survey that the teachers take for each one of their students in their classrooms. The 3 through 12 surveys are the surveys that our students are taking. So to give you a little background on that. What the Panorama surveys measure these are the domains that we chose. The really nice thing about Panorama, the SEL surveys, is we get to choose what are the domains and the questions we want to survey our students for to kind of help guide us in our direction. This year, we really went kind of broad scope. We chose the topics of self-management, social awareness, emotional regulation, social perspective, and supportive relationships. Then we also did an overall school climate for our students in grades 3 through 12. These are all tied directly to our SEL core competencies of relational skills, self-awareness, responsible decision-making, social awareness, and self-management. So they all tie into our core competencies. The way that the surveys are measured is each question that the students or the teachers score, they are given a favorable versus non-favorable response based off of their multiple choice questions. And that gives us a percent favorable. So when I share the data with you, you're going to see a lot of percentages, and the percentages you're seeing are the favorable percentages. How many students or teachers answered those in a favorable way? So I'm going to break this down into three kind of categories. The first thing we're going to look at is our snapshots by grade bands. So I'm going to break this into we're going to first start with the K-2 teacher surveys on students, and then go into the 3-5 grade span, and then the 6-12. Starting with the K-2 perception data of students, what you're seeing in front of you is the 4 different domains that they did under the competencies, which is emotional regulation, self-management, social awareness, and social perspective taking. So these are where the teachers said they felt like their students were with these questions. And that kind of gives you the basic overview of K-2 in the 4 different domains. The next one, these are examples of the actual questions. These are the 4 questions that every teacher answered for their students. So it's self-management, for example, overall, how focused is the student in your class? 49% at this last testing survey window answered favorably to that. So social perspective taking, overall, how much effort does the student put into figuring out what you are thinking? Again, these are perceptions of the teachers. So that's that data in front of you as well. And then if we go on to 3 through 5, now these are the students answering these questions. Again, looking at where we fall in these 4 domain areas, their strongest domain was the supportive relationships with adults. It is important to note that this is questioning them on any adult relationship. So it could be parents at home, it could be adult supports. It is not directly with teachers. It's just adults in general. But that by far is really a celebration, is the relationships are here. They're there. And their lowest one is emotional regulation, which we definitely scored around that 47 percentile in grades 3 through 5. So that's an area for growth for us, is emotional regulation, meaning that they continue to struggle with managing those big feelings and the big emotions. Same thing for 6 through 12 with all of our domains. The supportive relationships, again, was an average about 83%. That was our highest scoring domain. Our lowest scoring domain, again, was in the emotional regulation piece, along with social awareness. So we're going to see in our trends that at the secondary level, social awareness and emotional regulation are definitely our target areas and where we need to grow. One thing I do want to note that I didn't put in the graph is when it comes to emotional regulation, we definitely, our scores don't look great. Like, we are struggling emotionally. But on a comparison and a national data, which I didn't include the national data in this presentation, but that is a trend overall nationwide. So we are not all that different from a nation perspective. But for us as a district, I definitely think it's an area that we want to shoot for and aim for growth in. So the next graphs we're going to go through is I wanted to break it down by those specific domains. And so starting with emotional regulation, this gives you a big picture idea of where we're at with our grade span. So you can see emotional regulation starts off pretty high from that teacher perspective in K-2. And then we kind of drop off when we get to 3-5, and it's a pretty steady level at that point for all of our students. The next one is self-management. Self-management is probably the area for K2. Obviously, kindergarten through second graders, we need to work on those self-management skills, but we start to really catch on by 3-5. And secondary, we're getting a little higher. But we also see that as the year goes on with secondary, for those 6-12 students, we start to really see a decline in our self-management, meaning that some students are showing signs of just stress, maybe like keeping things together, management. So that's an area for us to focus on there. Social awareness, you'll see across district, is pretty steady. It is definitely higher at that K2 level, but strong social awareness definitely declines. And then in 6-12, this would be an area of us to focus on. And the last one was that social perspective, or I'm sorry, supportive relationships. I'm off on mine. So supportive relationships, this is the one that was the highest overall in the district. So we know when we say that we want our students to have a trusted adult, someone they can talk to, we are giving that message loud and clear. We're doing really well with that. The next one, the last one was social perspective taking. This was K2 only. Because it's that teacher perspective, this one is asking to what extent students consider the perspectives of their teachers. So when they're in the classroom, what are those? Are they listening to the perspective of their teachers? And that's a favorable response. The last area that I'm going to talk about is school climate data. School climate data overall for 3-5, we're just over that 50% favorable response. We're averaging 63 to 60% for those 3-5 grade spans. For the secondary level, this was definitely an area that we have a lot of room for growth, and we're going to be very intentional about targeting in the future. We fall below that 50%, averaging about like that 37% with our school climate. And again, school climate is the perceptions of their overall social and learning climate of the school. To dive in that a little bit deeper, the next slide is just to show you these are the questions that they're answering when it comes to school climate. So how positive or negative is the mood at your school? And again, you're looking right now at the grades 3-5. How well do students follow the rules at your school? That is by far the lowest percentage scoring across the district. How clean is your building where you go to school? How often your teachers seem excited to be teaching your classes? That is one that we are really looking at, even though it scored pretty favorably. That is something that we want to make sure that we target and just make sure we keep a focus and a goal around. And then how fair are the rules at your school? And then the next slide is those same exact questions, but grades secondary. So I'll give you a second to look through those. Perfect. All right, and as I promised, I'm going to kind of sum this up. Here's our key takeaways, our strengths and our challenges. Our strengths, as you heard me say a couple times now, was the strong adult-student relationships across all grade spans. We definitely see a growth in self-management at the younger age levels and consistent student participation. I was very impressed with the participation we had with students. That takes a lot of effort from our school teams, our counselors, our teachers, to make sure that's happening. So it shows that we are prioritizing wanting to know and how we can help serve our students. The challenges that we have as a district, elementary, that social awareness is trending down. Secondary level, school climate is low and it is declining, and self-management is also declining. So self-management and school climate are two areas that we are focusing on for next year. And all grades, again, the emotional regulation is just always going to be an area that we want what's best for our students and we'll be addressing. So for next year, we have determined that our focus, and when I say we, I mean our SEL steering committee, we are really going to be focusing on a sense of belonging. We feel that sense of belonging work is the bridging connection with attendance, with behavior, with mental health. And our core beliefs is that every student needs to feel seen, supported, and safe when they walk into those classrooms. And that is going to be the primary goal of us moving forward. Moving next. How we're going to build a sense of belonging, we are kind of adopting that motto of a sense of belonging is for everyone, everywhere, every day. This includes our staff as well, not just our students, but how we will provide that sense of belonging overall. Our supportive adult-student relationships will be the foundation of what we build on because we are doing really well in that area. We will continue to make inclusive data-informed practices. One thing that we really focus on is, are we being intentional? And now that we have this first year of data, we can be intentional with those results and how we're moving forward. And a district-wide commitment to safe, connected, and inclusive learning environments. How we're going to track our progress. We are going to be adding some new questions to our panorama surveys next year, and they will focus directly around sense of belonging and how our students are feeling and the teacher's perception. We are also going to be including specific questions about student to teacher relationships. We are also tracking growth over time. We're continuing to align it with our core competencies, and we'll continue to make data-informed practices with our results. Next one. So as a reflection, our social emotional learning is not a one-time. It really is something that we are embedding into all of our practices and all of our goals and our focuses moving forward. We are excited that we have this data, and we look forward to moving forward with building upon it. So, any questions?
Are those categories also aligned with the key focuses of our SEL curriculum?
Yes. Yep. And all of our curriculum, our surveys, it's all around our SEL core competencies.
And this is the first year we've done this survey.
This is the first year we have done panorama survey.
Okay.
Prior to that, we did conditions of learning that the state had, and then the IOU survey.
And we also did SABRES. So we used to do SABRES and My SABRES. We are transitioning out of SABRES, and so we will be focusing on the panorama moving forward.
So it's kind of difficult to compare year over year.
It is. And so I know at the fall we were kind of just comparing what our numbers were nationally. But that's why we're, now that we have this first round of data, it gave us a starting point on where we want to start with our goals moving forward.
Are other districts using the same panorama survey?
There are lots. So there's a lot of districts nationally. I believe there is Iowa City. I believe it's Iowa City that also uses panorama for their social emotional learning data. It's kind of a growing, I feel like more and more districts continue to talk about switching over to the panorama. I think one of the favorable things about panorama is that it is customizable to however we want it to be.
Any other questions for Val?
All right. Well, thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now you can come up, Rachel.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Val.
I'm Rachel Iggs, the English Learner Program Coordinator and CELA by Literacy Coordinator for the district as well. And today I'm joined with 3 of our graduates who all have earned the CELA by Literacy. And I just want to bring before you this conversation as an opportunity to acknowledge our 78, up from 1. We had media release was 77, but we ended at 78 students that have earned the CELA by Literacy, which is incredible. It is, again, our top number that we've had in the district year after year. Since 2019, we've been climbing and adding to our initial group of 12. So I think our 12 will be very impressed that we're up to 78 students. And if you just want to show some of those posters, Amy, thank you very much. This is just the first look at the initial picture of our poster 1 of 4, and we'll go on to poster 2. And as your face populates, if you could just go ahead and share before the board just some of these questions that I have for you to share about. You'll hear from each of our 4 students, and they'll be talking about which elementary they attended, and then what earning the CELA by Literacy means to the student, and what they have learned, and how they have established their proficiency over time, and then how their post-graduation plans will be influenced by their seal of biliteracy. All right, so we're on we skipped over our, you're up first, Lexi. Okay.
Oh, move the mic.
Just hand her the microphone.
I have it on my phone if you don't mind reading it. My name is Lexi Lottiehoff. I attended Woodbury Elementary. And earning the seal by literacy means I've acquired a skill that not many others have. I'm completely proficient in another language. In this case, it was Spanish. And I'll be able to use this skill wherever I decide to go, college or career-wise. Currently, I plan to attend MCC and then transfer to the University of Iowa while studying sonography. This is an excellent path to continue to use my Spanish-speaking ability because I'm making it easier for those who either aren't native to the U.S. or aren't fluent in English to get the health and medical care that they deserve. I took Mrs. Santana's dual Spanish courses all 4 years of high school, and with her notes and quizzes and just how she was teaching the class, I was able to keep up the Spanish that I needed. I honestly didn't do a whole lot of studying for the test because going to Woodbury, I had already been enrolled for almost 12 years, so it all just kind of came naturally, I guess.
We also want to do shout out to her mom, Kim Ledoff, who has been instrumental in the initial years of our grant that drove our dual language program, and she's here this also in the audience. So I just want to say thank you to Kim for planting the seed of hope with you as well. All right, and the next PDF, Amy, please.
Hi, my name is Daisy Play, and I attended Hoagland Elementary School. Earning the biliteracy means a lot to me because I took Korean, and not many kids who are Korean they don't really know their own culture and language. So earning this really means a lot to me and my parents because kids now, especially Korean kids, they're not to be rude, but they're kind of whitewashed, so they don't really know their own language, how to speak, how to read, or even write. So learning that really means a lot to me. For me, the way I studied this was at church. We have kind of Korean learning where we learn our alphabets and vowels, but gradually from that we stopped altogether. So we don't really know how to put the alphabets and vowels together. So I took that just at home just to learn that myself. So I just taught myself the Korean language and I gradually just got good at it. My post-graduation plans are I plan to take 4-year college at university at Buena Vista University, majoring in pre-med to become a dermatologist. For me, I think it would help with, based on my experience, not of the adults, can find people that we'd be able to translate for them because not many know Korean or English, only some know one language. So I think for me it'd be really helpful to help them with medications and explaining to them what they need. Yeah, I think that would be really helpful.
Thank you, Daisy. I appreciate that. Daisy is one of the few students from the class of 2025 that earned the distinction in a partner language that's different than Spanish. So we had French, which Geeks will talk about in a second. We had Korean. We also had Arabic, and we had Polish as well as 4 languages. Heading into next year, we'll add to those differentiated languages and add Korean, Indonesian, Hakachin, and Burmese as well to some of our upcoming seal of biliteracy earners. All right, Gigs.
My name is Gigs, and I didn't really attend elementary school here because I went to a private Catholic school back in my country, RDC. And
do you want to tell them what REC is?
Oh, it's in the middle of Africa. It's Congo, Republic of Democratic of Congo. Mm-hmm. Of earning seal of biliteracy for me is it's acknowledging like the hard work that I put into learning a new language. When I first came here, I didn't know any English, and I only spoke French. So like me learning English and now like having a syllable literacy means a lot to me. Like it's like a recognition of my hard work and part of it. And I plan to go to University of Iowa, University of Northern Iowa to study psychology, and having syllable literacy, like it will allow me to like talk to like people who like speak differently, like French. If like the patient that I am like interacting with speak French, it give me easy access for me to like communicate with them.
All right, thank you very much to our CLI by Literary graduates who are among the 78 of the class of 2025. Thank you. Any more questions for me or for our students today?
Do you know how many French-speaking students we have at the high school?
There might be like, I know of 2 or 3, yeah.
Okay. It wasn't that long ago that we had a French teacher and taught French, and unfortunately those teachers have been very, very hard to find because when she left, I think to go to Des Moines, for 2 years we could not hire a replacement teacher, but that was a fairly popular course for us prior to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our other world languages courses are heavily dependent on our teachers and being that lifeline for those courses to continue. Speaking of Des Moines, though, I do want to highlight that we had 78 students in Marshtown schools, and East High out of Des Moines also recognized 78 of their graduates. So that's really up there with that number is impressive for us, and we'll continue to keep on climbing that as well.
Okay. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yep, congratulations. Thank you.
Is this on? All right, I am back. Last time I was with you, I brought some science teachers and Erica Fenders, and we talked about our K through 6 science adoption process. And I'm here to answer any more questions that you might have relative to the adoption, and hopefully we can, if we can approve, pending your approval, we can move forward with the purchase.
Are there any questions for Dr. Smith? If not, is there a motion to approve the K-6 science curriculum for 5 years in the total amount of $509,386.57 as presented?
Second.
Wall, Faltus, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So good evening, everyone. Can you do the other one first? The social media one. All good. So tonight I will be giving a little bit of an update on where social media is at. For the district, we really have 2 main platforms going into it, one being Facebook and one being Instagram. Amy, if you could go to the next slide. As you know, with previous presentations about social media, these are really the 3 terms that you need to know with it. Reach is really the main one that I pay attention to a bit more often when looking at our analytics going forward with it. Each individual unique account equals 1 reach going into it, so it's a 1-for-1 versus impressions, it could be one account. They could view it 20 times. It's silly numbers, but it's good to know with it. So next slide. So looking at our Facebook numbers, these are already outdated. As I looked at our Facebook follower count this afternoon, and we just hit over the 10,000 mark. So definitely a mile marker. As long as I've been in the position, we started around like 7,000. So going from 7,000 to 10,000 in 2 years is something, I'm pretty proud of going into it. Looking over reach over the past couple of days, or past 28 days, over 60,000. Obviously, that number goes up every time we have graduation, homecoming, the big events. So I'm sure if I were to look at that number right now, it would definitely be on the incline due to shares, comments, impressions going into it, or the reactions going on to those posts. Next slide. Instagram is really tailoring the content for students or young families, seeing more and more populate to that area. Some of the data on this is a little bit outdated already. Again, going back to graduation, you have a lot of graduation content coming out, results in quite a few people looking into it. So we actually passed the 600 follower mark this afternoon. So thinking that this account is about a year and a half old. A lot of good mile markers going forward with it, a lot of strategic use that we can think of in terms of engaging our students when they're scrolling through their feed, or young families when they're thinking about, hey, I have a young child right now, I have to think about the future and where I will be enrolling that child. Instagram is a great place for that. Next slide. And as you know, we started the Social Media Ambassador Program, working alongside Andrea Gribble, doing a little bit of professional development and setting up those teams. So how are the social media for the schools doing? Next slide. So the numbers here are really right around the time that we started doing that professional development with Andrea Gribble. You might be wondering why Woodbury is at 2. We just started that account when we did Andrea's training, or the first big training going into it. A lot of those practices were thinking about content development, thinking about how you respond to comments, thinking about what are the best times to post content. So our staff members were able to receive that type of training, apply it to their own social media that they run individually. And so from these numbers, if we go to the next slide, this is where they're at, May of 2025. So a lot of good growth by all of our accounts. Woodbury going from 2 followers to 854 is definitely speaking to the work that they've put in. But all of our schools have really dug in. They've learned how to tell their story, and obviously the numbers here show that. A little bit more information about our social media ambassador program. Typically it's 3 to 5 individuals working together to collect content and post. Expectation from the communications department is to post 3 times per week. Just thinking about if you're not engaging with your audience, they tend to go away or they tend to forget. It also helps with algorithm going into it. So the more you post, people react, they share, they comment. It's more likely you're going to see it or someone else is going to see it. Along with the social media ambassador program, there were monthly meetings that went into it, talking about successes and challenges they're seeing. And then with the monthly challenges, I'm sure you saw on one of our social media feeds was the Social Media Ambassador Champion Trophy for this year, which you'll see more in a bit. But with these challenges, Amy, next slide, I would present to them a particular challenge, whether that be, hey, send me a post that you did about snow, or Teacher Appreciation Week. And so it would give perspective of this is the content that we're developing around this challenge. So.
And why aren't you in uniform? It's about time you got here!
So that one in particular was, hey, make sure to wear your coats, your jackets before going into the snow. Connecting along that way. They had a caption that really tied into it. It was a little bit more informational, a little bit more, hey, remember, it's really cold out there. You need to be wearing gloves, hats. But they made it fun having that type of content and seeing the students. So that's a little taste from Rogers from Teacher Appreciation Week, what they submitted for the monthly challenge. So that's kind of the overview of what challenge submissions look like. Again, that kind of goes into the traveling trophy, the consideration for it. And if we go to the next slide, you'll see who received it.
Why aren't you
So Rogers received the champion's belt for this year. They'll hold on to that for 1 year. They can use it for content, a little bit of bragging rights. I don't know if you know this about our districts and our district and our buildings, but we're pretty competitive around here. So anything that you can do to spark that competitive edge or thinking about, kind of playing against each other, it really helps in that aspect. And social media is a great way to really spark that competitive edge. So one more thing that I want to add, our social media ambassador work has landed us on a national podcast with Andrea Gribble. So myself and the Rogers team hopped onto a Zoom call and talked about what social media looks like, how challenges work, talking about strategy, how they work together. So I just want to mention that real quick. It was a great opportunity to share our voice with others and some of the best comms professionals in the world or in the nation listen to this podcast. So, and with that, is there any questions?
Abby, the question I have is, you obviously done a phenomenal job since you've been here with our district and sharing our story and engaging others to share our story. Mm-hmm. The question I have is, how many districts our size typically have this type of position on top of yours?
I think you're talking about the next topic that she's going to speak to.
Oh, I'm ahead of the game.
You are. You are.
This is your warm-up before I do that presentation, so I'll get to that. Yeah.
Well, obviously in the 9 years that I've been here, I've had a lot of opportunity to see the value and importance of her position and her department and the work that she has been able to build through others. And that was part of the social media ambassador program, is that what she's doing is a burnout job as a one-person team. And I've said this since probably day one with Abby. I said, you're burning the candle at both ends to do everything you can do to get the good word out. We probably will need to take a look at building staffing in that area, but in the meantime, be strategic about what we can contract out to help provide support, whether it's with Donovan Group, Austin Chatterton, Amy's class, all the different things that can help support the social media ambassador is a big piece. I think at some point getting more kids engaged in helping push out appropriate and positive content too. But when I was at graduation, when I had the opportunity to speak at graduation Sunday, I made the comment to the class of 25 that they have proven to be a very, very special class. And I think a part of that specialness is that they've really embraced Bobcat Pride. And I think a big part of that has been what has developed over time and us helping build that sense of pride and stuff. And so we need to sustain that. We need to build upon that. But it's going to be difficult to build on that in a significant way without some support, in my opinion.
Kudos to you for all that you've done. I love looking on Facebook and seeing all the videos from the ambassadors and they're funny and the kids. And I think that's what drives the pride, is that we are able to share what's going on in the school. And then the parents, as a parent, seeing your own kids, nephews, nieces, neighbors in there, it's just amazing. So something that just it warms everybody's heart when it comes to being a Bobcat, when you see that much pride, especially in social media, or just kids being excited to be in front of a camera, because a long time ago they didn't like it. My kids didn't like being in front of the camera. So before they left the district, just being there and seeing them, it's warm. So thank you.
Definitely one of the titles that I take great pride in, especially from the elementary ages calling me this, is not only camera girl, but social media girl on top of it. So I know there's a lot of responsibility and weight. Social media is fleeting. It's a one time. It passes through. There's always stories out there, but with how fast society is, and one of the first things that a person tends to do is open up their phone, go straight to social media, and the first thing you're seeing is the great smiles of our Bobcats as the first thing. It really causes connection and growth and makes you want to be a part of it.
For sure. And when you're seeing more positive than negative. 3 posts a week. I mean, that's great.
Also, the embrace the lead, how, the students, but also the teachers, had an opportunity to share a little bit about their story. I feel like that also helped, as a whole community to know and see their story and realize, oh, wow, I didn't realize this is, where they begun, where they're at now, and inspire to others, whether it was adults, students, that they can also do it too.
Yeah, there was definitely a big moment of that with graduation, posting from graduation rehearsal, and you have, I think it was over 15 comments of just, I graduated this year, I graduated this year, I graduated this year. It's a quick moment that you can connect with others within your community and see what else is happening.
Yeah. So thank you.
All right, Abby, you want to move into the next one?
Sure.
I'll make one. Oh.
So the other item for tonight is to discuss my desire to add a communications specialist to elevate our ability to tell our story and support in achieving goals that Marshalltown Community School District sets. I just really want to give a quick overview of the purpose of the communication department and what has been accomplished in my time since becoming a Bobcat. So what do? We tell the story of the Bobcat community, kind of shaping one of the quotes I hear. Our job is to share the positive story so loudly that the negative becomes almost impossible to hear. And then the other portion of the department, Amy, next slide, communicating the 5 Ws for the district, helping our community internally and externally, understand information and decisions made. That can be done through a range of items, through strategic and thinking about tactics. So what has been accomplished within the district since my time joining as a Bobcat? Probably one of the big ones, successfully implementing informational campaigns for reimagining Miller and Pepple. Embrace the Lead as another key piece within it. Started as a brand video, which now has over 20,000 views and has been shared statewide and nationally. What started as a small call to action has really grown into a big stepping stone, I think, for the district in terms of, community pride, recruitment, thinking about enrollment has been used for a lot of different purposes. And then another portion that I wanted to point out was completion or progress of 2021 National School Public Relations Communication Audit Action Items. Some of that is employee recruitment campaign, refining the district's social media presence and tailoring it to users, development of original content, increase in video content as well, both as structured, the more edited type, and then the more backpack journalism, so you take your phone out, you give a quick look. And then one more that I want to point out was defining the school district's desired brand, both through the brand book, thinking about how we use our colors, our logo marks, going forward with it. So that's kind of the district side. Within the community, really sharing our information about the school district at a number of community presentations, some of that being, Martha Ellen Ty Foundation, Leadership Marshalltown. So it's been a great opportunity to not only share the Bobcat story, but really get into the weeds of campaigns, strategy, research, looking into it. Collaboration with MEP has been a fun one for past couple of weeks, thinking about how we share our story from our staff and then connecting it with MEP, going forward with it. And then to a state and nationwide. I know you all are aware of the awards over the years. On top of it, presenting to Iceboro Fall Conference on one of those blue and golds. As a reminder, blue and gold is best in state, so it's always the fun award when you see that come in. A little bit more of national attention, participating as a focus group participant for finance communications, podcasts nationally known, and then also nominee for School CEO's Excellence in School Marketing Award. So why consider growing the department? One of the reasons, the size of the district and the number of stories we have. This is a fairly big district as a one-man department thinking about it. So it's one of those tough situations when you're presented with 3 great things and then you have to decide, this is all really good photo worthy, or if it's something to pitch to news media, how do we make that happen going forward with it? So it's been tough to kind of move around in those areas. The number of items and initiatives the communications department is currently overseeing or assisting with, thinking about sharing information about facilities is one, helping out with other departments' projects, which is always phenomenal to collaborate. Again, one of those situations of kind of have to figure out where to put efforts and time. Another big one that I want to point out, enhancing our ability to tell our story with the community and those considering being a Bobcat. thinking about school marketing anymore. It's becoming more and more of a bigger item. The better you can tell your story, the better that you can easily show your brand. They're more convinced to be a part of that team. They want to be a part of it. Some of that has to deal with social media tactics or thinking about print materials, video, really a range of items. And so it's becoming more and more competitive as school districts go forward in the current climate. The last item from the reasons, reduction of cost on vendors currently supporting the needs of the communications department. We currently have a range of vendors that are supporting our needs that would really cut down on what we're spending. Or better yet, translating it into, we have a person on site that has those abilities and talents to design something, take video, edit, going forward with it. And so really turning that cost into a person that has a connection with our schools. They know what our story is. They know our brand. They know how to put ourselves forward. That's really going to make a key difference versus vendors that I get an email, hey, I need this many photos. I need you to provide all of these options. And so it's going back and forth. And when you read text or you read over something, it's not really hitting to what the heart and soul of what Marshalltown is. I think that really makes a difference. So with that, are there any questions?
Zach? Yeah, going back to my question.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've done a phenomenal job of sharing the stories and engaging other people to share the stories, but other districts our size, is this pretty typical to have a position like this?
I think it's becoming more and more considered, especially with more of a competitive environment, thinking about statewide in Iowa. Right now, Ames is probably the closest in size that's a two-man department. As you go up from 5,000 students in terms of enrollment, that's kind of where you see more and more added to the team going on top of it. And then you look at outside the state going with it. You have certain districts that have an enrollment of 5,000, but they have a team of 7 supporting communication needs. So I know for me, really looking over size of department, try to be mindful of our size, our needs, and keeping to where we want to go with the future.
I guess let me re-ask is, I know we engage with a couple of different vendors to help you out. Mm-hmm. Will we be saving costs by being able to do it more in-house now?
Believe, I'm trying to remember the math that we did about.
I think we've thought
50.
that about 50% of what we've been spending with outside contractors would be able to be done in-house. It's hard to be definitive on that because there always are some specialty type projects where you're going to want more professional use. But to what Abby said before, even when we contract with these folks, she has to put considerable time into providing them with a lot of the information they need to create the product. And so I've always been very guarded and stringent about adding staffing. I mean, I think communications director that we've had since I've been here has wanted to grow it, and I wanted to make sure that before we did grow it, that we were maximizing our potential with what we had, not just with that person, but with building out to other staff members. Because Abby would be the first to say it takes a village with this sort of thing and getting the word out. One person can't do it. 2 people aren't going to be able to do it. We've got to be able to continue to build out at the building level, department level, ambassador level, and eventually student level to help do this. But I think we all realize the challenges that Marshtown's always had to try to convince our residents that we're the best show in the county. And that's not going to change. If anything, it's become more competitive. I think we have done a great job at changing the trajectory of that as it relates to open enrollment particularly, but we can't take our foot off the pedal with it either. And so I think the time is right. The other thing, Abby's had some administrative assistance through our receptionist position, which has some limited capability because their first and foremost job is providing community service with phone and walk-in service. So we've tried to make that, we've tried to have that position help where it makes sense. By adding this position, we can free up that position to provide more universal assistance with work that makes sense to have them to do. They can't really do anything that requires long sustained attention because their first priority is all those spontaneous calls and walk-ins. So I think there'll be some value added within our office in being able to have other departments be able to access that receptionist for help in projects while we can get more of a certified help for Abby to truly help her with what she needs in communications.
How much of the salary do we think we're going to be able to offset by not having to go outside?
The vendor costs that we're currently working with is about over $2,000 per month. So I think that was $30,000 in total. And then we were thinking about the salary start. I bring up job description.
I'm just roughly guessing that it would offset probably a fourth of what the cost of the position would be.
So what I'm hearing is we would be saving costs.
Mm-hmm. When you're
because
thinking,
we're spending more than 40 to 50,000 right now a year with the paying vendors.
yeah, vendors, and even thinking about video costs when we have opportunity or we think this is a story that we can be extensive on and it needs to be sharp, crisp video work, for example, or just the skills for graphic design going into it. Definitely those professionals know how highly needed or more valuable they're becoming. So some of those costs are definitely going up as time goes on. Thinking about video in general, one video these days goes from $3,000 to $10,000. So if you can easily right size that, you can do it all in-house. It really makes a difference from there. I think we're seeing it more and more with districts that have that two-man department or that department that really speaks off of each other's skills. Really one where one's more of the writing, the graphic design, the other's, the complementary. They're doing more of the motion graphics, the video. They can tailor more of those website, assets going into it. That's really where it shines.
Yeah, so it's going to be an added expenditure to add this position. I'm just saying that in what we have talked about that we think we can save on from what we've been contracting out, it might offset a quarter to a third of the cost of what that position will be, but I'm trying to be careful about, in no way is it going to take care of all the contracted costs that we have because some of that work is so specialized and they can do it so much faster than we can do it with everything else like Abby has going on, or even this communication specialist will have. But I just think the time is right for us to make this move if we want to move this work forward from where it's at, because I just don't think, I think that there's more that we can do to help support it throughout the district, but I don't think I can ask more of what Abby's been doing. at this current time.
I think one thing on top of it as well that I'll add, if we have a public relations scenario that I have to, hit the brakes on everything, clear my calendar and support the needs of our buildings, there's definitely a lot of those moments or stories and opportunities that are gone, just mainly nobody's fault. Nobody was planning for public relations scenario to happen, but when you have to drop everything and clear your calendar, move things around, it definitely loses that potential of, hey, I could have been doing this, writing this. As always, serving the needs of our students and staff here in the district is our top priority.
Randy, how does a budget look for something like this, adding something like this?
Long term.
Long term, to be able to sustain?
I can't answer that question tonight because I haven't plugged that into projections or anything yet. So,
Yeah, one of the things that I've talked about with Abby is that when and if a time would come where we needed to make reductions, and she's aware of this, this would be probably one of the first because it would be furthest from impacting the students in the classroom. So, that's always the challenge with these types of positions, but.
And it doesn't look like we have to make an approval tonight, right?
No, it's
Okay.
just info and discussion
Okay.
tonight.
Thank you.
It's more like a yearly contract. We're talking 12 months, like a yearly contract.
I can't remember what we settled on.
This is
It's an
full-time.
hourly position, isn't it?
250 days.
250 days,
Yeah.
full-time.
so 12 month.
Yep.
Is there other information that, assuming this is coming back, is there other information that you guys would like to see or hear next time? Sounds like Maria's question about, long-term financial viability of this, assuming that can, in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form, can be.
Yeah, because I would need to know exactly what cost we're looking at offsetting as far as contracting out. And then I would need to work with Abby as far as, because Dr. Schutte alluded to, the time spent coordinating some of the vendor activities so I can calculate some of those soft costs there too to get a more accurate cost offset to then have that total number to plug into forecast to see what that would look like long-term. But that is not information that I had.
It might be interesting to find out from INSPRA if they have any data similar to what you've been asked for about Iowa districts, but from a national perspective, do they have any data on typical size of communication marketing departments within schools based on enrollment or whatever? That might be good information.
School PR is definitely, I think it's one of the areas for school districts is a little bit of the Wild West. It's fairly new going into it, but I can definitely reach out to my contacts and see about that data.
Any other questions, comments? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
Mr. Bolivar, you want to come talk about the Virtual Academy handbook?
Oh, you do have it, good. Justin Bolivar, Principal, Marshtown High School, here to talk about Marshtown Virtual Handbook. This is not my birthday. It's past.
Tomorrow's his birthday.
It's yesterday. Could be. Celebrate again?
Happy birthday.
Page 1. 2025. There's only 65 pages here. I'm going to go over page 1, date change. be free to go. At least you let me go last year. I appreciate that. I feel like I think I'm a comedian, but. Page 2. So, okay, page 2, taking out the contact name, both those there for Jordan Terry. 3 is simply a removal. There seemed to be a typo there. And then page 4, add some S's, take away just some vocabulary type stuff. Page 5 through 16, no change. Board, when I was looking at this, it's pretty straightforward. There's really good information in here. As a high school principal, there's stuff that, it fits right in with our MHS handbook. This is great for MVA. It talks about attendance policies, how you can't, go to, basically run to MVA Virtual Academy and avoid not being in school by not taking classes, right? So that stuff's in there. There's some really good information in there. And at this time, until I really feel like we run it through a year with Jordan and I, no further changes I'm asking for at this time.
Yeah, and I apologize because this should have come before you with the other ones at the last meeting and somehow it didn't get on there. So thank you, Justin, for coming back to do this.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
On the day after your birthday.
Or the day before, or the day of. Hey,
did I mention tomorrow's my birthday?
Yeah. Just real quick, Justin, just remind me, MVA now just 9 through 12, grades 9 through 12? Is that right, or do we still have eighth graders?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Student handbooks, transportation, preschool, elementary.
Yeah, so these are all the handbooks that you heard proposed changes from the respective principals and directors and supervisors at the last meeting. The only adjustments from what you saw was what they communicated during that meeting that they recognized they had missed. It was either a name change or date change or something like that. So substantively, it's the same as what you saw.
Are there any questions? No. Then is there a motion to approve the transportation, preschool, elementary, Lenahan, Miller Middle School, Marshalltown High School, and Marshalltown Learning Academy handbooks as presented?
So moved.
We'll go Valdes Hernandez on that one. Is that okay? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Do we have to wait until next meeting to approve the virtual academy?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
typically how we
because
do
it's,
it.
because it's not on there as an action item, so.
Okay.
Are you going to talk about the substitute handbook there?
No, Jackie had shared that she was going to reach out to Sarah Flugie, I thought, to speak to this. So we'll probably have to put these on to the next meeting.
Okay.
No problem.
Both the
Both of them?
substitute handbook and the handbook and appendices?
Yes.
The
I was thinking the appendices, we had those
back from the
before, right?
last
Those are
meeting.
coming back.
Yeah, that's brought back.
Yeah, so that could probably be addressed. Nothing has changed from what she had shared.
Okay. Any questions or comments about the employee handbook and appendices? If not, is there a motion to approve them as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Valdes Hernandez, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. That motion carries 6-0. Legislative priorities.
Yeah, so this is just for informational purposes. Usually it's a little bit later than now when we first push these out, but IASB has started their reach for wanting districts to consider what their priorities are going to be for next year. So I've attached our most recent legislative priorities, and then also their platform that has the plethora of different possibilities that it could be. The one thing that I would say is, since there wasn't, I mean, I think it's fair to say there was little to no movement on any of these priorities in a positive way in this past legislative session. I think there's still viable, obviously, the state supplemental aid. Teacher recruitment and licensure, I think statewide there's less of a concern. I think it's mostly in pockets of the state like Marshalltown that's still struggling with certain positions and in certain areas like special education, that sort of thing. The one thing that I would like to keep pushing on is for continued state funding and support for the parent-to-teacher program to help incentivize people to pursue education degrees, because that still is a small pool that's entering into and exiting out of our state universities with teaching degrees. Mental health is a huge issue. I think there's been great support both at the state and federal level to help. They all acknowledge the need for youth mental health. There's been funding opportunities for youth mental health. Right now, the challenge is in finding providers to provide the help here locally and elsewhere. So I think that's still a critical thing. And then the preschool item is really, from my perspective, more about getting full day funding for kids that are most in need. So for lower socioeconomic families, and the state was really close to this the last 2 years, but trying to get full day funding for students that meet those financial qualifications. And if that were to happen, then I think we could do a much better job at getting more kids ready for kindergarten through the preschool program, and yet still provide parents the option for half-day preschool, for example, if they either don't meet the financial criteria or they don't wish their kids to be in, full-day, everyday preschool. So I'm hoping that we can continue to push in one way or another for that, because I think they were pretty close to approving that in this last session and just didn't get across the finish line. Probably due to the price tag that was associated with it. But we'll have some further discussion at the next meeting about these. And so as you guys look through the ISB platform and think about the priorities that we've most recently had, I'd be very open to entertaining other priorities if you think there are things that should be on our radar in that regard.
Any initial thoughts from anybody?
I've seen, with the work that I do, I know I've seen the change in the parent-teacher program, just even with the student to para. Just the amount of students that I've talked to about being in the classroom and really embracing what teachers do and having the whole different view of working with students and wanting to do that as a career has made a big difference. So with the fact of a teacher shortage, I think that is a very, very positive thing that we're doing here at our district. So I would like to see that continue as well.
Well, give those things some thought, and we'll have a discussion at the next meeting. You got some student school board reps to talk about there?
Yeah, so I was excited that during this spring, and I want to thank Abby for helping by working with our current or former student school board reps to do some promo videos to help get the word out at the high school a little bit better than what we have in the past. We've got three high-quality applications for consideration. Two of these students will be 11th graders, so it'd be kind of nice to have some consistency potentially over a 2-year period. But Miley Dougal, Nymaid Harmon, and Audrey Miller-Pfeiffer, I've shared their applications with Sean and Sarah, and they were in agreement that these look like 3 quality people to bring forward. There's still the potential that we could take on another student at least, because again, as we've seen, all of these students are in everything under the sun, and so sometimes it's a challenge for them to be here at every meeting, and we've usually gone 3 to 4, or like this year 5, just to assure that we have 2 or 3 of them at every meeting. But I would recommend approval of these students, and if that happens, then we'll communicate the good word with them.
How many applications did we receive?
Just these 3.
Just these 3? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Which I would say is
No.
fairly typical. I mean, it's not like we're ever overrun with applications.
No. It's been,
That's a fair statement.
Right?
Yeah.
Would that be accurate? Okay.
I'd say in the years we've been doing it, there's probably only been 2 times where we weren't able to accept everybody that applied for one reason or another.
Are there any other questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve the 25-26 student school board reps as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Morales, Faltus, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. That motion carries 6-0. And they'll start, I assume, September, after school
Yeah.
starts?
Usually it's by the first September meeting. I try to meet with them within the first to second week of school, so.
Hi. So, a fun fact about most hardware technology is that you get to buy it, but then to keep it working, you have to pay for licenses for it every year. So, this quote is actually a reflection of us just continuing to pay for licenses for phones, which we do anyway every year. This is a little bit more expensive, although not much. I did share some numbers. This initial cost for this year would be $49,087.26, and this is to keep the Cisco phones, the ones that you pick up that you could dial 911 on. This is to keep them working. So we have them already. We're not buying more phones. And the neat thing about this, and the reason that I want to go in this direction, is because this is what's called cloud routing. So rather than have to have on-prem servers, hardware in each building to route all of the calls and to do a lot of the programming on the phones, rather than needing that, you basically use kind of like an Amazon server in the cloud to be able to do the things that your phone needs. The phones, all the calling still happens here. The analog lines are still here. The phone system runs on our fiber, but the programming and some of the routing happens on servers that we don't have to buy, we don't have to host, we don't have to manage, we don't have to take care of. So that's sort of the difference between this quote that's called WebEx calling and then the quote on there that's called on-prem. On-premise just means on-premise. And that one was like $185,000, so about $10,000 cheaper over 5 years. But that doesn't include the fact that we will have to buy new servers for every single building if we went that route. So I really believe that this is the best option financially. It's with a really great vendor that we work with that are always willing to help, if there are big issues that come up. And it's a good way for my team to not have to manage so many on-prem servers. Any questions?
I don't have a question, just an observation. I clearly don't understand how phones work anymore.
It's actually very difficult.
plug
It
in.
is not easy. It is no
Right?
longer just copper into buildings.
Yeah. And this is within the technology department's budget?
Yes.
Annual save allocation for the.
And then going forward, it would be the 39,000.
Right. So there's like a $9,000 installation cost where they just help make sure that we don't have weeks of my team trying to troubleshoot, with phones down. It's people that have done this many times that help us just
That
get it
technical
rolling right
support.
away. Yep.
Any other questions? Then is there a motion to approve the RTI quote for new Cisco WebEx cloud calling licensing as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Wall Morales? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. That motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the next item is another formal approval of a property purchase on South 12th Street. This would be 108 South 12th Street. I think I talked briefly about this at the last meeting. This would be the third house to the north of Lynn Street behind Miller. The backyard would align directly with that circle that's in front of the the formerly new gymnasium. So this would mean that of the 9 houses that are on South 12th Street, including the one house on Boone, that we would have purchased 8 of those 9 at this time. There'd be 1 left that we're still trying to seek agreement. We have a price agreement. We just don't have a time of possession agreement with them right now. The price on this property is $160,000.
Which house is left?
It's the third house to the north of Lynn Street on 12th. If you look at the map that's attached, it's,
Oh, no. I mean, what house?
She's
is
asking
left?
which one is the one that's left?
it would be, I believe, the second house to the south of Lynn Street.
That's my recollection as well.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve the purchase of 108 South 12th Street in connection with the Miller Middle School project as presented?
So moved. Second.
Who was it? Was it Leah?
Sarah.
Okay, Stanley Faltis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. That motion carries 6-0. Randy, you want to talk about a parking lot?
Yep. So we have been looking at, this was initially identified as one of our summer projects for the high school of getting the parking lot done. Over there, Dr. Studi and I have had ongoing conversations with Todd Goulding on the summer projects, and conversations then led to Todd reaching out to Clapsaddle Garber to get some engineering specs and analysis and estimated cost for that project. Adam Daters was able to get back to us this morning with some information, which is why there was the amendment added tonight. So initial estimated costs for the high school parking lot project are just over $273,000. So that's over our, it's over the Iowa law competitive bid thresholds for public improvements. So working with Adam and his team and the timeline set to ensure that this gets done before school starts and gets done this summer, and to allow enough lead time for contractors to bid and get the project done. Recommendation tonight is the resolution, similar to what you've seen with other projects. It's just tentatively approving basically your you're approving that we've worked with an engineer and gotten estimated cost and initial specs for the project, so that we can then publish public notice as required by law to hold a public hearing at the June 16th meeting. Bids are going to be tentatively due back by June 20th. I believe Dr. Schutte sent out a calendar invite earlier today to have a special meeting on June 23rd to where we would award the bids for this project. And then at the July 14th meeting, we would formally award the contracts for the contractors, still allow that roughly 7-week lead time that they would need to get that project completed.
Yeah, I haven't sent that invite out other than
Was that just to me?
but
Okay, yeah.
my,
I saw the calendar invite come through.
what I wanted,
It's coming.
obviously, what I was thinking was to possibly do that over the noon hour, a noon to 1. Yeah, it probably isn't going to take that much time, but then to provide lunch if that can work versus have an after work meeting at 5 that's going to last probably no more than a half hour. But I can throw that out to people, see if it can work. It'd be Monday
Yeah, it doesn't
the
have to be June 23rd. It
23rd.
could be just possibly sometime that week if there's a different day that works better for everyone.
This is the parking lot that was the staging area for Larson Construction during both the stadium project and then also during the CTE project. So it's the lot that's pretty obliterated to the north of the entryway to the stadium. Between the band lot and the entryway to the stadium.
Kind of looks like a gravel lot at this point.
Yeah.
Because of all the
Construction
traffic.
And part of what's being proposed is to fix what didn't get taken care of with last year's project on the south side of the entryway, which if you walked on that entryway, there's a significant drop from the sidewalk to the parking lot that's a liability. And so we're looking at rebuilding, probably a 10 or 15 foot section of what was done last year in order to make it less dangerous for someone to potentially step off the sidewalk and fall and what have you.
How does this cost estimate compare to, our estimate for the summer project?
Summer project estimate was significantly less than this, but we do have reserves within SAVE to comfortably cover this if bids come in where they're at, or where Adam has that
at this estimate.
Yeah. The initial estimate provided by Todd was $80,000 for the lot. So
just a little.
Just a touch, yeah.
Well, we're looking at doing that. I was driving by here, and obviously it's definitely needed. But I did notice while they're there, I don't know if we could look at along the fence line of the complex, put some type of landscaping in, whether it be gravel, something along the outside of that fence.
Well, there's supposed to be grass, so.
I mean, long term though, the mowers it's just going to beat up the fence line with that narrow path. Just observation, I guess. Hopefully that wouldn't happen, but I don't know if we could look into something else.
Probably not at the same time, but we can look at that for the future if there's something differently than what has been there prior to these projects was just grass. So.
The teachers' parking lot got pretty beat up during the CTE thing too. There's some big divots.
Yeah, there should be patchwork that's happening, to bide time to get back on a replacement cycle. Hopefully that's something Todd Carl will reestablish as a reasonable parking lot replacement cycle over the next few years. But you're correct. If we don't stay on top of those cracks and crevices that develop, it gets ugly pretty quickly. So.
Any other questions or comments? Then is there a motion to approve the resolution tentatively approving the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated total cost for the MHS parking lot as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Faltis Hernandez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Central Rivers.
Yeah, so as you know, most of the monies that previously flowed through us to the AA are now coming to us, and we have to develop agreements for money to be spent with the AA. And so there's 4 separate agreements here for services that we have been utilizing and wish to continue to utilize. Lisa Wymore, we've been contracting about 70% of her contract from the AA to provide English language learner services for our district that we wish to continue. So we've got an agreement for that. We utilize the technology services, especially in times of crises, which we probably have 1 or 2 of those here, in some regard with technology. But Amy has shared that they are able to provide significant and quick help when we run into those situations, and we want to continue to have access to that. So that's the technology services agreement. The school communications services agreement is to continue to be able to access Best Strike for emergency communication purposes and other things. And then there's a work-based learning agreement that's specific to special education services at Marshtown High School. We were cited a few years ago for needing to do better in that regard, and so we're in the process of trying to find a replacement for a vacated position at the high school. This agreement would provide direct support to whoever replaces that position, and it's probably something that we won't need to continue over time, but we definitely feel like with all the changes with Matt's position and the work now having to find a new work-based coordinator at Marshtown High School, that we need this kind of mentoring and administrative support. The AA wishes to have these contracts in place so that they can effectively budget as well for the coming year.
So, sounds like most, if not all, those are just continuations of services that we're currently receiving from the AEA.
Yeah. But now we need agreements.
Right, but now we just have to.
Yeah.
We're not dropping or adding anything, it's just continuing.
That's
Right.
what I understand. Yeah.
And only 2 of these actually have a set amount in them. The others are more pay as use.
One's 1,000 a month, another one's 72,000, other one's 13,000. And then just the contract.
Oh yeah, this one has funds in it, but one of them did not.
No, the contract didn't.
Okay.
I thought all of them had a price tag associated with them.
The technology one.
Technology services.
How has that worked, Amy, in the past?
There's an appendix B for the technology one if you scroll to the end that has a cost.
Okay.
Yep, got it.
Oh,
Just
okay,
after we-
4,100.
Okay.
I usually just do a bank of 20 hours, and then if I exceed that, I could buy another bank. We don't usually exceed it, but their consultant there is really good, so he often will just help us tweak little things to make it better, even if it's not emergency. He's also there for emergencies, so it's just very handy.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for pointing that out, I didn't see the last one.
Yeah, and they've been really good about consulting with us, and then us, like, if they reach out through me or someone, then us reaching out to the people like Amy and Abby and that sort of thing to try to make sure what specifically do we need so that we can have them pretty closely ballpark what that cost would be. All of this is new for them as well as us, so.
Any other questions? Then is there a motion to approve the 25-26 Central Rivers AEA contracted service agreements as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Who made the, was it Karina or was it Maria?
Maria. Me.
All right. Morales, Faltus, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. That motion carries 5-0. Mr. Shomo, you've been waiting so patiently. And it's probably not even your birthday. Huh?
But we can celebrate.
Well, it depends. Do you have good news? Do you have news to celebrate?
We have news. Randy?
I think there's some good news with what you're sharing tonight compared to last year's
Last year was,
renewals.
Yeah, so last year, we just got surprised. This 1% wind hail deductible was a beast. And we went out to open market and we found a deductible buy down for about $250,000 that we really didn't want to buy, but we didn't have a choice. We could not have afforded the high school Linehan Miller to get hit and try to handle that 1% deductible, which would be in excess of $1 million. And might be able to handle it one time. We certainly wouldn't want to handle it two. And we've certainly had more than our share of convective storms in the Midwest. So very grateful to the work that the MGA has done, Jester Insurance out of Des Moines, who acts as the managing general agent between us and EMC. They put together an opportunity, a non-insurance product, which is a self-pooling of all the districts that would like to participate, where they put together a bunch of actuarial data on what type of loss experiences we've had in the state, and come up with a quote-unquote premium. It's actually a donation, money you're putting into a pot of money that's going to be used by the districts that actually experience loss. And then they went one step forward to buy an insurance policy should we actually have losses in excess of what the actuarial data says that we're going to have. What should happen over a long period of time is that these monies, with the interest that they're earning and the time between claims and hopefully a couple years good claims experience, that reserve pool of money should grow. And we would hope district participation numbers, the dollars would actually go down over time. And again, all in theory, we'd love to know what's going to happen with convective storms moving forward. So what Randy's brought for us tonight is a 28E agreement for you to get involved in with this project with other districts across the state that are also getting involved, that we want to make sure you understand right off the bat is not an insurance product. It's a pot of money to be shared by the school districts, which again, over time, I think is a really, really good idea. The product we brought to you last year was a good private market, excess and surplus market product. But the coverage being afforded by this SPF 25 is significantly better and involves more of our schools, I think 9 or 10 more than we were able to insure last year. And instead of at a $100,000 level, bringing that down to a 75. And all of that for a premium that is about half of what the deductible buy down was last year. Randy, that a pretty good summary of.
I couldn't have said it any better.
How you understand it?
No, I appreciate that. That was good.
Yeah. So I'll pause for questions on the SPF. It's honestly a no-brainer. It's the right move for the schools, and I'm going to, if no questions on that, I'm just going to have you guys take one of these real quick and pass.
Thank you.
I told Randy I was not sure if I'd be in a position to talk about the renewal tonight, but we're pretty close to wrapping up numbers for the renewal. We're still struggling on the property line. 2024 was a watershed year for EMC. I think I've talked to you before about the combined ratio where insurance companies collect $1. They'd like to pay their claims, pay their employees, pay their agents, spend 95 cents of that dollar, make a 5% profit. For 22 and 23, most insurance companies spend $1.20, $1.25, $1.30 for every dollar they took in. That's what caused a half a dozen insurance carriers to leave the state of Iowa, no longer do insurance here. Certainly made EMC unprofitable in those years as well, but very happy to report EMC ended 2024 with a 0.98. So that's profitability. I'm hoping we actually see this as we'll start to see it with next year's renewal, a decline in the steepness of what we've seen in the property rates over the last 4 or 5 years. So I think we're finally seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. But property number and the business auto number are still up on the regular renewal, offset by the money that we're going to save with the SPF 25 instead of the deductible buy down, which overall will bring the district with a flat renewal for the coming year, and I think that's good news.
Considering I was projecting 20% increase, yeah, I'll take a flat increase. So.
And this is hot off the presses. We haven't even gone through our complete review yet, but I told Randy if I had the ability to bring some real numbers to you tonight, I'd bring them and do an introductory discussion about them. But we'll have more follow-up with Randy with details. We're able to get through the line by line.
But the item tonight is to
The action item is
approve
to
join the 28
the 2080 for the storm
agreement for the
protection
storm
fund.
protection fund.
Yep.
Anybody have any questions for Randy or for Bobby?
Preferably Randy.
If not, is there a motion to approve resolution in the 28E agreement to participate in the Intergovernmental Cooperative Storm Protection Fund in the amount of $130,966 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Wall Hernandez?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. See there, Bobby, you did have good
Appreciate it.
news.
Thank you.
That was pretty easy, you guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.
Congrats on your son, too. Thank you.
Your son?
Got married.
Zach, you have initial review policies tonight.
We have 3 different policies. The first one's for policy 203, board of directors conflict of interest. There's no edits or changes that need to be made. We're going to mark as reviewed. 203.10 board self-assessment. No changes on this one. Mark is reviewed. And the last 204 code of ethics. No changes and Mark is reviewed also.
Anybody have any questions for Zach?
Good.
I would just note on the board self-assessment, Abby, is that ready to push out? It soon will be, it sounds like. Okay, so soon, Abby will have the board self-assessment ready to push out. We'll do it the same way we've done it in the past. We do the survey, same way we did Dr. Schuette's evaluation, right? Isn't that how we've done it before, Abby?
Yeah, I know there was a little bit of difference from 1 year into another because the survey platform that I was using before had premium. You had to buy it in order to get some features that we wanted. In order to go around that, we had to use Google Forms with it, so I would just revisit that form.
Oh,
make
that's
some
right, we
updates,
did.
And then should be good to go.
Okay, so then our goal, I think, should be to try to have that done ahead of the next June meeting. So then we can review that and then talk about goal setting this summer? Is that kind of the
Yeah.
timeline we're thinking about there?
Do you attach the article that goes with the survey?
Either you can naturally attach it as part of the email itself, and it is part of the text within the form. So in order to get to the questions, you have to read all the way through before you get there, so.
And I think I've sent that out as well. And when you send out the survey, I send out the
Article.
The article. Okay. Abby, anything additional in communications this evening?
Bobcat Boutique was on KCCI last week. Just in the final stretch going into it, so if you need some fun times, reach out to me and I can send you some times for field days, that's for sure.
Darren, you've got the calendar for board meetings.
Yeah, you receive these in news and notes as well. These are matching or corresponding board meeting dates relative to when we generally have our board meetings. Once we have board approval of these dates, and we'll get them out there for calendar invites for the coming year.
Any questions or comments? Anybody see any dates that
The only
conflicted?
thing, and I didn't look through the dates, but historically, and I guess hasn't been a problem in others, but there's like a Monday that's, I don't know if that's President's Day or there's no school.
The 16th.
There's not school for kids, but all of our employees work that day.
Okay.
So we've normally had a board meeting on that date. I think the only date that we've moved the board meeting for is Martin Luther King Day, which all students and staff are off on that date.
And Labor Day.
And Labor Day away.
Yeah.
That's why we have it on a Tuesday.
If everybody's okay, is there a motion to approve the board meeting dates for the 25-26 school year?
Well moved.
Second.
Faltis Morales, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. That motion carries 6-0. Any committee reports as we reach the end of the school year? The only thing I can think is we did have an auditorium.
Yeah, a lot of time and effort's been spent by the auditorium committee to identify desired capital improvement projects for the Performing Arts Center or the high school auditorium, and I know that they're planning to embark on significant fundraising campaign sometime here soon through, I think, November, when they've got scheduled their 40th anniversary celebration, which will also be a fundraising event. But the committee has met more than they normally do just to kind of pinpoint what these items are and then get vendors in to help and other consultants to figure out what an approximate cost is so that they can figure out what money they need coupled with money that the district would commit to make these things happen.
Any items for a future agenda anybody'd like?
We are planning on this month having all of our principals do their school goal videos so that hopefully we can get those out to you in early July. You'd probably have a month to view those, and then at the first meeting in August, we would have a work session to do the district report and to have the principals present.
Sounds good.
What have we done this evening to improve education for the students in Marshalltown? Improve that K-6 science curriculum.
I was just going to say science. Yeah.
I'm just glad to hear about the Bobcat Ready presentation. Just the fact that it keeps going. I was part of the initiative of the indicators, so it's kind of nice that it continues, and they're still working on perfecting it and making sure students are aware about it.
It was nice seeing the biliteracy, the seal of biliteracy presentation, and seeing the students and seeing how the growth.
Yeah, especially Rachel said in comparison to East High School. I mean, East High School is one of the biggest high schools in the state, is it not?
I mean, they're
I think they're the biggest in the Des Moines
maybe of the
district.
Des Moines, yeah. I mean, we've typically been one of the top districts in the state for the numbers of kids that have earned it, but usually she provides that information, so I'm sure once it's available from the DE, we'll be able to share that. Yeah, I don't know exactly what the size of East is, but a lot of those Des Moines schools have lost enrollment, so some of them even dropped classifications. East still, I think, a solid 4 or 5A school.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Glenn, is your student here?
Yes, but my translator is not here.
Okay.
She's on it.
That's fine. Then
You think?
Then
East is the 7th largest high school. We're not going to come up with that.
East High. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Then that'll be the end of the open portion of the meeting. Well, we'll take a break, and then when we come back, we'll go into closed session.
Sounds good.
You?